Hello, 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 hello. That looks like YouTube's gone. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Crypto Traders Arena. This is Kevin here on a Tuesday afternoon. It's another round of talking some crypto for our Tuesday public show, I guess this is, that I've started doing here over the last month or so. Uh, just really having fun and trying to reach out to the community a bit and get you all to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Which hilariously is crypto's kind of slow these days, so can't say it's not like people are flocking to my little presentation here, but that's okay. If anything, like I've said before, only the diehards are around now, so even in our trading room, it's really, you can always tell the people that are in it for the long haul are still showing up every day. But it's kind of quiet in general, and also it's just honestly hard for me to get super excited about investing in altcoins right here. I think that the general kind of like investment window is still happening for sure. I don't want to lose focus, but at the same time, I don't expect things to just turn around and start ripping straight up here, which is probably the most important point for all of this crypto stuff. If you are following along with us either on this show or on Sundays, Paul and I do the our quick crypto weekly review where we're kind of working our long-term investment plan on sort of like the top 100 market cap coins. That's just sort of like a simple investment plan. And then I guess this show is going to kind of dive a little deeper into a lot more names and not really talking about a specific plan. I'll constantly talk about my sort of core setup for my investment plan, but so yeah, check us out on Sundays if you want to kind of follow along with that plan. But I guess my point is everything's still just moving along with this sort of year being the window where we do want to stay interested and stay focused and make sure we're nibbling away at stuff as it's here at the bottom and nobody cares. So all that's still just kind of plugging away. But I mean, the reality is right here at this moment in time, I don't think we're like on the verge of a bull market starting tomorrow. So that's probably the most important thing to take away. If you're going to listen to anything I had to say, just be patient and just take it slow here. There's no sense in like going and, blowing all your capital early. Cause the reality is while we can't say for sure, it's likely that crypto does see some, well, especially altcoins see some lower prices here later in the year, perhaps, and then of course we'll know when the real bottom is in, when we start seeing most of these coins looking a little more, have a little bit better structure, like weekly W's specifically. So until we start seeing like weekly double bottoms in a good chunk of the coins, then I think that we're still early. So the good news is if you're looking to start an investment plan, you're certainly not too late. Now's the time to definitely at least get your plan in order and start thinking about what you're going to buy. And truthfully, almost everything is in a decent enough location to buy. Like, leaving Bitcoin out of this for the moment, but just talking sort of altcoins, I think you could argue that most things are down at the bottom of the range at this point. And while they might see lower lows, you're certainly not chasing the market right here. But also in the bigger picture, I mean, there is a couple weekly W's here and there, and there's some bottoms holding. And then of course, there's always a coin pumping somewhere. So, on any given week, there's probably going to be something popping. But for the most part, it's pretty weak right now. So, just try to keep your head in the game, get your plan together, and go slowly is what I would think is the best approach. That's what I'm doing, at least. And of course, it brings up the whole point of like, just because I'm doing that doesn't mean you guys need to do that. I'm certainly not trying to talk you guys into anything, or I just don't expect you to follow what I say. If anything, I hope to just kind of share my opinion because it's fun and sort of what we're doing. And if people can derive some value from it, then awesome. And, I expect you to use your own knowledge and plan and conviction and personality type and, style, all those things you have to kind of find on your own. You can't just listen to me and God forbid a bunch of other idiot YouTubers I probably still fall into the cat as much as I'd like to think of myself as. I mean, I know I'm attractive and good looking and all that, but I don't know if I'm really that smart or that great of a YouTube influencer. So I think I still fall into the idiot category. Um, but I can't even turn my camera on, because then people would be too distracted uh, by my by my good looks. But point being, I mean, you got to be careful listening. We were talking about this earlier, just kind of poking fun at some other YouTubers and stuff, and you got to be careful what you go and listen to. I mean, I think if anything, you should just use people like myself as sort of a counterbalance for your own opinions, and hell, maybe even counter trade me for all I. Maybe you could find a trading plan that works where you're just literally doing the opposite of what I say. So that's all up to you. I can't. I don't want to tell you what to buy, and I can't. And none of this stuff is predictable. So if anybody's sitting there saying they know exactly what's going to happen, they're just wrong. We don't know what's going to happen. This is why we use. I mean, that's one of the great things about technical analysis that I think people truly misunderstand about like using technical analysis. Like people have a tendency to think that it's just sort of like a magic bullet or like a secret sauce or some sort of like, that's what either the people that hate technical analysis, they hate it because they think it doesn't work. And then the people that then there's the other side of the people that think there's some sort of holy grail or like secret formula that if they could only lock into that special indicator, they would be set. And that's completely wrong too. Both sides of that are wrong. But the cool thing about technical analysis, it just gives you a way to frame the market. It gives us something to like sort of gauge what we think is going to happen. And that's all we're trying to do, right? Is create some kind of edge. We're trying to find something that gives us an edge here and leans probability in our favor in some way. And then of course we only need to lean it into our favor like half the time, truthfully. Even less depending on your risk to reward. So we're just trying to, create an edge, and technical analysis is a great way to do that because it gives us like a visual representation of like pattern recognition. We can kind of look in the past and see things that have happened. Not to mention, once you do it for long enough, you can actually almost kind of get the feel for where the market's at and the vibe through the charts themselves. And so, and then most simply, like just, like I said, waiting for weekly W's. Like you show me the day that people start sending me a bunch of charts that are all weekly W's that are confirmed, then I'm going to have a lot more bullish attitude about crypto than I do right now. Whereas like there's a lot of things that are just grinding at new lows. I can use things like moving averages to tell me we're still trending down. So I'm going to use those things, not my opinion is kind of what I'm getting at. I'm certainly not going to go and listen to some other person's opinion on YouTube either. Well, at least, I like to listen to other people's opinions, but I'm not going to take them as 100% truth. And I'm just going to keep I'm going to just keep trying to work my little plan, which in my case, my plan is very much technical analysis oriented. I'm using these charts to sort of structure my trades and give me an opportunity, or show me when it's time to buy. And so like, I don't know, to leave it at that, I think right now, of course, like I was saying, most crypto's down on its knees. We've been through this horrible bear market and most of it's behind us. And we also aren't seeing those weekly W's yet. So it's like, we have most of the bear market behind us, but we're not really in a bull market. So what's in between a bear market and a bull market? And I guess that's what we're calling the accumulation bottom, or the bottoming phase, or the accumulation year. Or a lot of people that I do respect in this game all kind of seem to be saying the same thing. So I don't think I'm way off the mark here. I think it's a reasonable time to at least consider taking your nibbles and dollar cost averaging and all that stuff. And again, I'm not really talking about Bitcoin, unfortunately, because of course Bitcoin, dead cat bounced off the lows and doubled. And now I wouldn't say Bitcoin's down against the lows. So I am speaking specifically of like crypto, and I'm not even talking about Ethereum for that matter, but altcoins across the board, most of them are down against their lows, with the exception of some like maybe like Render, which even Render is starting to come off pretty hard. Maybe we can look at that in a minute. But anyway, I guess the only point I'm trying to make here is let's just go slow. have our plan. There's no rush right now. FOMOing right now is a bad idea, I think. I don't think having FOMO right now is the right way to approach this market. And really, let's wait for some like positive catalysts to come in to start pushing the market up higher. And hopefully, maybe the Bitcoin halving will hold again, like typically in the past. We've seen this sort of cyclical nature, 4-year cycle type environment with crypto, where price has a tendency to bottom before the halving and then move higher into that event, and then the bull market comes after the halving. So, of course, the Bitcoin halving is, I think, in April or so of next year. So it's getting closer. Geez, it's 6, 7, 8 months away now, whatever that is. Let's see, Davidson. Wait. Oh, I don't know. You're talking about something else. Not this show's working, right? I don't think we're having a problem on YouTube. Let me know if I'm not streaming. Looks like everything's good on my end. Of course, I'm just sort of I'm just sitting here in my office on my own. And if there's a technical problem, I might not even notice. I'll just keep rambling away. Speaking of rambling, geez. Now now I kind of lost my train of thought, but yeah, Bitcoin halving. Maybe that's the catalyst we need. I mean, in the past, it's held true. Whether or not that's the case this time, we'll have to wait and find out, I suppose. But I think it's not unreasonable to sort of have at least like some loose expectations that that's gonna still be the case. And also just even like, we're 2 years into a bear market now or so. I guess, could we say that specifically? Yeah, about. So, I mean, that's usually bear markets last, around there, maybe a little less. And, like I said, it's like crypto's kind of been on like a 4-year cycle. So if we're 2 years into a bear, then the bottom should be close just based on that. So I think we're getting closer. It's just, there's a couple things working against us. One, September is not particularly a great month for the stock market, and I think crypto is going to kind of get drug along with that, with the risk on market. So right away this month we can't. I don't know. It's hard to get too bullish here in the next few weeks. Just let this month kind of pass. And also, just crypto has a tendency to kind of grind lower into the end of the year, especially when it's not a bull market. So in an environment like this, it's like there's probably some tax loss selling that'll be happening here into the end of the year. There's some negative news, I guess Sol recently was, FTX was forced to liquidate quite a bit of Sol. So maybe we'll look at that chart here in a minute, see what's going on there. There's some negative news. A lot of, for US people, we've all been kind of kicked off most every exchange now, except for the few core ones that are US based, like Coinbase and Kraken, essentially. And I guess Gemini and Binance.us and stuff are, they are also, I don't know what the story is with Gemini, to be honest. I don't trade on either one of those, Gemini or Binance. But I think they're still around, but I don't know what they really have. So point being, we've been basically kicked off of like all the other shitcoin exchanges. So that's kind of like the final shakeout for the US public. So all these things have sort of added up to kind of more negative sort of pressure. So once we get all that behind us, then there'll probably be some breathing room here next year, hopefully. And we'll just see what happens there with that. But I do think, this is a long way of saying I do think we are on track for some sort of bull market down the road here. It's just a question of when we can truly start bottoming and moving higher, and we can start seeing like public interest come back in crypto. We'll just see when that happens. So I think again, the best way to just judge that is through the charts, in my opinion. I mean, try not to get too sucked into the news, try not to get too sucked up into like YouTubers and all that stuff, and just learn some basic technical analysis and build a plan around that. And that way, at least when a reasonable time to take your bet is, and if your bet's wrong, you have a reasonable, you're either told when to get out, or you at least manage your risk in a way that you're not getting run over when the thing goes against you. So of course, a huge part of your trading plan should be your risk management plan, of course, and that should if you're willing to play this game, you should be willing to take that money and lose it. I hate to say it, but if you're fucking around with this stuff, this is like the most dangerous, risky shit. I mean, you can put your money into. Of course, it has the greatest chance of reward. Well, I don't know about greatest, but it sure seems like. I mean, you can make money in the stock market, obviously, but clearly altcoins have a huge upside when they start ripping. And so, like, it is definitely like high risk, high reward. Probably about as high risk and high reward as you can get in investing, for sure, at least in like sort of longer term stuff. But that's where you're going to bang out your 50x or 100x or whatever. And so, like, that being said, I mean, if you're going to even play around in this game, you have to accept that risk right away and be willing to admit that maybe this bull market doesn't ever come, and you actually do have to just take a kick in the nuts on your capital and ride these things to zero. It's always possible. And if you haven't truly accepted that possibility, then you're never going to be comfortable with this. So, I mean, that's where that statement is, don't risk money you can't afford to lose. It sounds stupid and simple. And yeah, like, no, everybody wants to be like, yeah, no, of course. But very few people actually truly mind that statement and actually truly accept the risk that they're taking. That's a great, like, Mark Douglas thing. If you've never read Mark Douglas or watched any of his videos, I highly recommend it. But he talks about that a lot, like how even people that think they're risk takers, they're actually not. They're just gamblers that are willing to take a bet, but somewhere in the back of their head, they think they're going to be right. They're not truly accepting the possibility of losing. And until you can truly accept that, then you're always going to have a hard time with this. I mean, I know I've struggled, like, just like everyone, with that. And at some point you have to just, you have to build a risk management plan that allows you to take those hits and not get blown up. Because blowing up your account it does a lot of psychological damage. Not only does it suck to lose the money, but it's hard to get back in the game after you've blown yourself up. And, chances are you probably will. Somebody's going to, most people do. You might have to blow up a couple accounts. That's why we always talk about the $100 challenge. If you're going to blow up yourself, you might as well blow up a $100 account at first, or a few times. Maybe it takes you 10 times. At least you'd only be down $1,000, as opposed to just, mortgaging your house or whatever and losing all that in a couple trades. So that's why that's key. Anyway, I don't know. Like, I'm just kind of, I guess I'm trying to, I really just want people to, well, I don't want to bullshit people. I guess that's what I'm ranting about. I just really don't want, I can't ever imagine I'll be the type of person that would be a great YouTuber that can sit there and say Bitcoin's going to the moon every day and live with himself, when I don't believe that right at the moment. I mean, I do have high hopes for Bitcoin down the road, and I definitely have high hopes for the altcoin bull market, but I just can't. It's like impossible for me to do this without just being straight with people, like, this shit's not easy. It's just not really easy. Strangely, it can be easy if you do it's weird. If you can make your plan and you can follow it and you can be patient and disciplined and you can stomach the risk, then all of a sudden it does get a lot easier to be truthful. But that's just it's just not everybody has that innately, that ability. So you kind of have to develop it. Anyway, I'm going to look at some charts here. Yeah, let's see. I'll just kind of quickly go through these 6 charts here on my screen. I just mentioned I'll mention the DXY here really quick, and just, I guess I have some lines on here from yesterday's conversation with our premium members, but it looks like the dollar is once again threatening to break down here, but of course we don't have any true breakdown. And of course we're looking for this thing to roll over if we do want crypto to have some breathing room and kind of upside potential. We do want to see this roll over a bit because they are somewhat inversely correlated, even though it doesn't totally seem like it right at the moment. But I think in the bigger picture, they very much are. And I think crypto is very much a risk-on asset. And and DXY's risk off. But nonetheless, I mean, we did kind of peek up into this gap here, which is, it's encouraging that we kind of broke down against that gap a little bit. Of course, that's also just up against this key high here. But we haven't truly, I mean, technically there's a 3-bar fractal here if you count, this high here from 4 days ago, and now the 2 candles to the side of it, and then this red candle here yesterday actually confirmed a 3-bar fractal top. And actually today we're looking like we're losing steam. They were trying to bounce it pretty good this morning here, and now it looks like it's kind of running out of steam. But for the most part, I mean, this 13 EMA is just pointing straight up. The 30 is pointing straight up, and they're, not even close to starting to converge here. So, I mean, this up move might not be over, and RSI here never got into overbought. So, like, do you think we could still maybe even get up into this gap up here that's this island top? They kind of conveniently left these little gaps right here. And those things look sort of magnet, somewhat of a magnet. That's like I guess you call that an island, right? It's gaps on sort of doji that gapped up on, or there's gaps on both sides. So that's kind of a magnet there. So I don't know, maybe price needs to get sucked up into there before this is really, truly topping. And 38.2, even a little bit higher here. So as long as we're below 38.2 and, I think we can still kind of think of this as a range right here. And so point being, it's just the uptrend's still very much on, hasn't broken, but it is once again showing weakness. Of course, last time showed weakness here and just based off the 200 here. And truthfully, I expect this 200 as it starts to kind of go flat, we probably need to test it again. And if we come down and test it and then continue higher, then that's just going to sort of confirm the sort of change in market state from this like sort of downwards range, kind of downtrend, lower lows, lower highs, to like all of a sudden, this 200 is going to start turning around and maybe pointing up, and we're going to it'll become support here. It already is support, and maybe that starts to point towards higher prices for the DXY here, which will, we start grinding up into here, and then the risk on markets are going to be, getting kicked in the nuts a bit here. So, and really, this isn't a place where we'd like short a name. So I mean, I guess as a trader, you might be interested in shorting against these highs here. But in general, all we've really done in the bigger sort of trend, we went into this huge uptrend here through like 21 and 22, sort of like post-COVID rally, I guess you could say. I mean, even, so COVID was back here for the DXY, this kind of crazy price action. That was like when the stock market dumped hard. Anyway, point being, we went into a serious uptrend here that was then now tested with the loss of the 200 here. And then that was when we sort of went into a true downtrend, I would say. And now we're like, we've broken that downtrend a bit. So, any moves higher into here is not going to be great for our crypto plan. Ideally, we just kind of range actually for a while, I think would probably be the best sort of scenario. Just like let this calm down and spend some time ranging into next year. But here's what it is. Hasn't fully broken yet. And then the stock market itself is just very middle of the road right now. So not a lot of information we can take from the ES here. It's just, it's literally just, I mean, I think we've carved out a range here for the time being with this down move. And now we have like a W working here. And so, I think the base is down here and the top of the range is at the highs here. And we're just, we got up into Mountain Man recently, 61.8 fibs, and then got knocked back down. And we have this gap down here, which I think is a magnet. And we also have the gap up here, which is a magnet. So it's like, do we just kind of range through here while the 200 kind of gets closer to that range so that it can be tested again? And, it's like, this is a brand new contract, so there's not a lot of data here, but you can still see the price action. It's like, we earlier in the year went into an uptrend as we got through the 200 and started trending higher. The moving average is pointing up and everything. And this is kind of what I was saying about the DXY. If the DXY starts to do this kind of thing where the 200 starts pointing higher, then we're going to have to say that it's in an uptrend. like this has been. Of course, this isn't really, I mean, there is kind of an M there depending on what you think about this wick being the left side of the M. But either way, not a great, like, sort of macro top looking pattern, in my opinion. And so I think the uptrend is still intact here. And now with this W here, I think we have set like a pivot for a higher low here. It's just, looks kind of weak here. Got back up into the reload zone for a minute and then just got kicked right back down. And now, in general, just sort of moving averages are cross bearishly still trying to cross bullish. And we have this gap down here. So I do think that gap's like decent location for longs. That's probably a place where if the smart money's here trying to get long here, they're going to probably knock price down into that. If the big boys are going to try to get long here, that it would probably be down in this gap or even below. I don't think right here is a particularly great location. It's just sort of in the middle of the range. It's a little bit below the actual middle of the range here at like 45.48, but we're sitting at 45.16. So it's not really a lot that can be derived here other than, we could potentially be ABCing back down to the 200 here, or we're in a range. And we can't really say for sure, but, I could see something like this down the road if we, consolidate here and then M out and dump down. And that makes sense, just right back down into the 200 to test whether this uptrend's over or not. Or we just kind of hold these lows, bounce around here for a while and just range, which honestly I think would probably be the best thing. After this kind of pretty straight up move, I think the healthiest thing would just to be seeing some sideways here while the 200 gets closer up, and we can see if it's gonna, if it can base off the 200 to push higher and actually go after the old highs. It's a little early to say. Last thing I'll say here is RSI never got, unlike the DX, opposite of the DXY, it never got oversold. So that kind of, you can see the M in RSI coming in right here, actually right at the 50 line. So if that M actually comes in, then maybe this ABCD is more likely, and we do have to come lower as RSI gets into oversold. So anyway, not looking particularly great here, sort of just September. That's all I could really say is it's September, so we shouldn't expect too much of a ripper right here. And NASDAQ's the exact same, so I won't cover it really. There's nothing different to say. The only real difference is the NASDAQ does have a clear M, but otherwise, same gaps, same location, same RSI. Almost confirming the M. My OBVs are a little bit jacked here because these are the new contracts, so OBV hasn't had enough time to really build, so it's kind of hard to look at a bigger picture with these contracts. It just happens to be what I have here up on the screen. I'm not going to change it right now, so in fact I'll just kind of move on. Talking about crypto today anyway, and the Russell, I'll just say because I like to talk about it here, we're losing the 200 here. Does not look great. Everything's pointing down here, and 200 moving average is now resistance. So and it looks kind of head and shouldersy. Not technically a valid head and shoulders because this right shoulder is higher than the left, but nonetheless very head and shoulders looking. So that's not a great sign for small cap stocks. But get into old Bitcoin. Hey Nathaniel, good to see you, man. I think Nathaniel probably might agree that stocks aren't, it's not a lot of great longs in stocks right now. Maybe a little bit here and there, but anyhow, Bitcoin, the question is it going to take back the move it put in here like it has been lately? Kind of looks like it was running out of steam here a minute ago, but it's still hanging in. Bitcoin, I think, same story as Sunday. Although we did take out the lows that we've been, I specifically was saying the chances of these tails getting taken out here were pretty high. Not a huge surprise at all. These are what we call equal lows. Anytime you start seeing like, consecutive equal lows, like a couple of them, 3 of them, 4 of them in this case, that's just like creating liquidity below them, right? Because there's going to be a lot of stops down there. All the people that were getting long up here probably had their stops against these lows. And it's just sort of a phenomenon that kind of happens. And so like, we like to use these as trade location. And I know the VIP guys were taking longs here. I don't remember their exact level, but they were basically taking the FUs off of these lows here, which you can clearly see was a nice short-term trade. Yeah, it's a pretty classic FU move, and we know this is support right here. We've said over and over again that this 25-200 area is sort of this key level going all the way back here, and has now made the head and shoulders neckline. It's also 38.2 of the range, the entire range. Also just kind of down against this low, and also just hanging on to higher lows. Like Bitcoin's still just hanging on to a higher low here. They have not taken out this low yet. And so that's support right here, right? This is the support we kept talking about people getting bearish into. Like, it's never a good sign when you see people getting bearish into support. I mean, it's very common. It's like most people do. But, when you see Twitter getting super bearish right here, that's like probably not a great sign for the bears. So you don't really want to put yourself in a position of where you're getting too bearish heading into a key support level. I would argue the 25,300, 200 around there is key support level. And it wasn't a surprise at all to see the low taken out and then a bounce. It doesn't mean we can't still head lower. It's just not a huge surprise to see this sort of bounce right off of that level. As soon as those stops were taken out, they just took it right back up. But that said, like, have we actually bottomed yet here? Hard to say. I mean, well, just to back up real quick again, the uptrend in Bitcoin is like sort of being tested, but not broken yet. I mean, it's broken the 200, and then we even got 200 moving average resistance here to sort of confirm that loss of the 200. So that's not a great sign for the uptrend. But at the end of the day, if you judge your trending by higher highs and higher lows, this was a higher high most recently, and this is a higher low most recently. Well, now it's this low. Still haven't taken this out yet. So technically we're still hanging on to the uptrend. And if you use the 200 for the trend, then we've kind of lost it. And then if you use a trend line, you can see how we just came up into trend line resistance and now we're backing off again. So I would say the uptrend's being heavily tested here, but not completely broken. And of course, if you use fibs, then you should be looking at 38.2 of this entire range and saying, well, we haven't really lost 38.2 yet. So we can't say that the bear has taken control using fibs themselves, only fibs, and the idea of 38.2 being sort of like the line in the sand for like bull uptrend in this case, or it could be bear downtrend in another case. But we're holding on. Like, it's crazy how we're just hanging on here. So we'll see what happens. I still think waiting for a W is the smartest thing if you're trying to just be conservative and call a bottom somewhere in here. Wherever we get a true W, I don't think we can argue. There is kind of W's here that have now been broken. There was even that little W there that also is now broken. So I suppose taking longs off those W's was fine if that was your thing. But now that's kind of been broken, and now it's just like, where do we see a true nice clean W come in? And of course, anywhere in this green box would be between 38.2 and 50% level, which is sort of like the Colin pump chaser zone idea. And so that'd be a place where we could think about continuation longs still, but we start losing those levels in earnest, and then we got to probably start thinking about reload zones down 61.8 at 21,700. And then again, just to be clear, like, remember accumulation year kind of thinking, like, are we just in a range now, and do we have to now, do we not get the 38.2 up here at 35K that I was kind of targeting as sort of where I thought this would roll over? Like, are we, it's like a question of now, do we somehow get it together here quickly and still can take a shot at the 38.2 up here and actually complete this head and shoulders structure? Or have we already rolled over and now we just got to come back down into reload zones to sort of set up the end of the year buying opportunity that I think is coming? Kind of looks like leaning a little bit more towards that at the moment, I suppose, because now we have trend line and 200 period resistance. So any moves up into like 27.6 or so, 28K, that's resistance, in my opinion now. So, we kind of have to consider price rolling over. Any bounces up into this area, might have to roll right back over. So I don't know. I mean, this is why I can't get that excited about a bull run starting right now, though, in altcoins, because this is not good location, right? So it's okay to be thinking longs here as a trend continuation pattern. You're basically saying, I think this uptrend's still intact, so I think this low is going to hold, or at least, somewhere in this green box up here is going to hold. And so you're kind of basing your trade idea on the idea that we're still in an uptrend, and that's okay, even though it's sort of losing steam. That's okay as a trader, sure. Waiting for W's there if it comes in, and maybe you can catch a long there. But in the bigger picture, like, I think that this is a horrible location to sort of gauge the entire market of, the whole crypto market on. It's not like this doesn't look particularly bullish here, so it's hard to think that that altcoins are going to be particularly bullish. And Ethereum looks even worse, which I'll get to in a minute. I'll just say before that to look at, to watch OBV. I'll say two things, because one, I've been talking about the possibility for the RSI divergence, which now it is possible because we did take made a new low here. So now we have this low and a lower low here, and RSI in potential divergence. So this is what I was talking about here as these equal lows got taken out here over the last week or so. I was talking about the possibility of at least starting to see divergence, and you can kind of see it coming in now. We're making a higher low here in RSI. Of course, it's got to get all the way up here through the, make this W to actually confirm that. So that'll be a move up into this like 200 period resistance, funny enough. So maybe we pop up in there and then roll back over, and we'd have confirmed divergence. So we just need structure after that to some sort of W to frame that trade off of. If it even comes in, hell, it might not. We've been talking about this. I've been talking about this idea of where does the continuation trade come in forever. And honestly, I've never once said that I thought it triggered ever since back here. It's just like I keep talking about the possibility, but really I was waiting for a solid W and never really got it. And then the last thing I'll see is OBV just pointing straight down still, not even threatening to turn at this point. So until OBV can W, at least just a little W or something, then I don't really think this, like today's pop, is just nothing more than like sort of a reaction to the taking out of the equal lows. And nice location for short-term longs, like if you were hunting like hourly chart type things, or even lower. Of course, that's the kind of thing that we like to hunt on our lower time frame trades, is like, can you find a place where there's liquidity just sitting there that wants to be taken? It's classic FU. I mean, we just call it the FU because they're essentially FUing all the people's stops here. Anyway, Ethereum looks even worse. So that's kind of my, again, the reason why altcoins aren't really, they're probably not going to have too much wind at their backs here is Ethereum looks worse than Bitcoin. And, we are getting a little bit of a bounce today. Moving averages are still pointing very much down, not even close to crossing. And we also have this sort of 1500 area that's like a magnet, in my opinion, which is the ABCD off the top, and then also 50% level of the range, and then also the trend line off the bottom, which, and then maybe I should change these lines color because we'll pick orange for now, because I think this is that range that we've basically carved out. In Bitcoin, it's still debatable whether or not whether we've broken the uptrend, whereas Ethereum, I think we can argue that the uptrend has very much been broken. Doesn't mean we can't like sort of get our shit together, but whatever this uptrend was, it has now been broken by just the massive M that came in. So we're not making higher highs and higher lows in Ethereum anymore, because that's just a big old M. So hopefully you can see that we took out the, Bitcoin's low right here has not been taken out yet. Whereas Ethereum, now we're starting to close below it. We closed yesterday for the first time below there. And we're pretty close to that ABCD. So I don't know, maybe it's already happened, but we'll see. Seems like we could probably just dip down here against $1,500 again, just to complete that ABCD. Which technically is a long, if you're an ABCD harmonic trader, that would be actually a location to hunt longs. So, I mean, that's promising, I suppose. But as like a range trader, and you're looking at this, I see Mountain Man 61.8 fib down here at 1362. And so it's kind of looking like we've already started the sort of downside to this bottom of the range kind of play that's happening here now that we have this big range established, with an M at the top and W at the bottom. Like that's W back here, right? And then also W's here. So we got W's at the bottom of the range, and now we have a big old M at the top of the range. So hard to get super bullish right here. Hopefully you can at least see that. Now we might come into this trend line and W out here and bounce. I'm not saying that. But if we do that, same thing. I've had this kind of M up here, just like, any moves up into the 200 here, and I expect something similar to this to happen, and we get knocked back down at this point. And until this, till the 200 actually gets tested and W'd on the other side of, I think it's hard to argue that we're in an uptrend again. So kind of just looks like a range, but this is that accumulation range. I mean, orange lines are basically drawing it out, so if you're buying against the lows down here, at least you're not chasing and you're taking your bet against this low holding. I think that's the best way to look at crypto right here. As long as this looks kind of bearish, then altcoins are probably going to be the same. Like we could look at like Sol, move on to a couple of names that, like we'll look at Sol just because I was mentioning that there it's probably selling off a bit because of this FTX liquidation stuff, and you can kind of see that here. I don't know when that news truly came. This is a weekly chart, so if it was just this week, well, I think it was last week, but that's not even that big a deal. It already, it's like those powers that be probably already knew. And Sol's been selling off now for a couple months. Ironically, I have this trend line here, and this is, that's technically a W. It's a little wonky in a super wide range for sure, but that's a weekly W in Sol. So, if you draw a trend line off the bottom here, it's very common to see this tested and then see a bottom on the third tag of the trend line of the W. I mean, I see it in the stocks an awful lot. I don't know. I guess altcoins, anecdotally, I feel like I see it, but I definitely see it in stocks all the time. And this is technically a W, but you can see this thing's kind of crap in the bed. But it's like, are you the type of person that's willing to take a shot down here? Because it seems like a lot better of an idea to buy Sol here than like up here, for example. So at least if you're buying Sol down here, you're not like chasing this uppy bull market. So if you think Sol has any chance of surviving, then it's not the worst idea to start thinking about nibbling here. And to be fair, it's at $15, $16 right here. And Sol has a lot more room to go down. I mean, it could go down to $1 just as easily, which is sort of these lows back here. Where did Sam say he'd buy all your Sol? Was it $3 when he was like, fuck you, I'll buy it? Back in the last bull market. Was it $3? I can't remember. I feel like it was $3 that he said he would buy all that guy's Sol or whatever, anybody's Sol. So who knows? Maybe Sam will step in at $3 and support. Yeah, $3. Maybe Sam will get freed from jail. Not that he's even in jail, or I don't even follow that, but maybe he'll get freed at $3 to step in and save everyone. But even if that's the case, it's 16 here, so $3 is a lot less. And that's a perfect state of the crypto market here, because it looks like accumulation area to me. It's just like, are you going to buy it here at 17? Or are you going to exercise more patience and maybe look for like levels down off of that high, for example, which is $5? That's up to you. I think waiting to see what happens to this W or this trend line, I mean, isn't the worst idea. Just see if we can W out right there. I mean, clearly location is good. That's sort of like, that's the point of all this is like, yeah, location's pretty good on all altcoins. So like, you're not really chasing anything, but this has a lot of downside risk still too. So you have to be prepared to see a lot lower prices, I think. I don't really see anything particularly bullish about this. Like, sure, there's a weekly W that's in, and so if that holds, the low of the W is at $8, still 50% down. But if this low holds, then sure, we have a nice base. Just kind of ugly. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, that price action is a little weird. And then, of course, as always, I'll just mention, I'm always looking at OBV first, and I don't see that as being a W yet. So, of course, it's trying, just like the weekly W, but it would need to break that high there to truly be a W. So no bottom here. Looks like hell, to be honest. Now, to be fair, we've come off pretty hard here. And really, we've just taken back whatever up move that Sol enjoyed here in the earlier part of the year. I guess that was like June. So no bottom. I mean, this is a perfect example of a crypto chart right now. It's like certainly down near the bottom, but it's not bottomed yet. That was one. What was the other one I thought? Or well, somebody was asking about Filecoin. Well, DMAC was saying any FA, any good FA coin to enable file or ICP. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I think Filecoin has reasonable FA. Now, I'll be, to be fair, I'm not going to claim to be like an FA person in crypto so much, but I do like Filecoin in general. And I think, geez, what did I just do here? Um, we could look at Filecoin. I mean, I do think Filecoin's does have like a relatively good story, and I think it has a lot of money behind it, and it seems like it's probably gonna stick around for a little while. And if I remember correctly, though, I do think that the insiders are along from like 60 cents or something. So who knows what they sold through here or how all that works. But, we're still at $3 here. So there probably still is a, downside risk all the way to 60 cents or so where the original ICO was. And really, I mean, this is a lot like Sol, right? Except this doesn't even have a weekly W. So, I mean, yeah, this is okay to buy against the lows. Like, sure, like right now, the low here on Binance is 237, and we're sitting at 311. And so that's not, I mean, at least you're buying it cheap. I mean, it might have to lose those lows still, but at least you're not paying, $80 or whatever this thing went up to, 240, geez. And so in general, like, I mean, that's like the kind of chart we'd be interested in general, but just keep in mind that might have to head lower here, especially in the next couple months as crypto sort of does try to base. And always, this is why we wait. Remember, I was saying, we'll know when there's weekly W's on most of these coins. I don't see that here. I do see like sidewaysy after a bear market, which is good. But I don't see a W. I do see the potential for a W if for some reason we can hang in right here and, like something at least like this, just see this W come in and then have it come back down and buy. At least like that's kind of like the ideal situation. And then you have this base already set. Once we see most coins doing something like this, we'll know the bottom's in. Right now, I don't think we can argue that, but there are some that are a little more bullish. Like I like this OXT. This is kind of like a little closer, and the reasons being is just, I mean, first of all, this kind of OBV, like compared to Filecoin, let's look at the OBV really quick. I mean, there's a very strong difference here. Filecoin's Ming out. Maybe even, no, haven't quite made a real M yet, but we have an M potentially in Filecoin. And also just a generally lower highs and lower lows kind of environment here in OBV. Whereas this OXT, very different picture. So like, I mean, there's always a bull somewhere, and this thing isn't quite a bull yet, but I could see this being one that pops here and maybe produces some doubles in the near future. And, if anything, hopefully you can see the difference in these two charts. One, just OBV is actually in confirmed divergence. Like, we broke this high here on these two bigger candles, these up moves. And, OBV is just trending higher, trending all the way from back. I mean, we're technically in divergence from all the way before this cycle, from last cycle, all the way from, we've made new lows, and OBV has just been continually making higher lows. And then we actually do have a weekly W here. So I would much prefer taking shots on stuff like this. Like it's a weird W for sure because of this big wick. But, even if you just use the candle bodies, and look at maybe like a line chart, you could see the W's in here. I much prefer something like that. And now we're just getting the Wyckoff check. And you could see I just started nibbling here. I got three, pretty classic. Well, this is that setup I was talking about that I would probably be talking about in this show. I talk about this is all I really talk about. All the rest is just like filler. sitting here rambling and rambling on, but truthfully, I'm just looking for this. I'm looking for price making lower lows and in decent location first, which in this case, location is at new lows. So, it'd been nice to see a base against the old lows, but it is what it is. But I mean, I'm not chasing here. So the location is pretty good. And then we're making lower lows. OBV makes a divergence, confirms a divergence. And then we get a weekly W that breaks out. And then I buy the pullback of the W. That's pretty much, and maybe buy the W if I'm sitting there looking at it. And so this is just basically what I do. So if I wouldn't have bought here, then I guess I wouldn't be following my plan. And at the moment, I'm willing to nibble at 61.8, which is a little chasey and more aggressive for sure. And then 78.6 and 88.6 is, so I usually, me personally, I just work 3 bids. I don't know. It makes me feel like I'm being more patient. It makes me feel like I'm just sort of spreading my dry powder out. It's more of for me, it's just like it's how I do it. I'm not saying you have to do it that way, or I don't, for me, it just makes me feel like I'm being aggressive enough to get into these trades, but also patient enough to sort of average my way in. And typically I'll end up with an average cost around 78.6 of the range, which is ideal for banging out doubles. Now there's people like Christian that he's always lower than me. So he always gets a double before me because he's a little snipier than me apparently. So that's, maybe I'm a little too aggressive. I don't know. But this is just me. And so anyway, nice. This is my setup in a nutshell. So this is a chart that I can't guarantee it's not going to hold, but crypto's not looking super great right here. And it is at least putting in a green week, unlike Filecoin. Or like we were talking about Ape a lot today. And like this is an interesting one because it's if you want to be a sniper and buy cheap, then I think buying at the lows here isn't the worst idea. Like you certainly can't fault anybody for saying, "Hey, this is where it opened on Binance at $1, which is interesting. It's literally a big fat round number of $1. You can't fault anybody. Look at this. Just, this is sort of like cheap ass like buying blood in the streets kind of thinking. You don't have any information here. Like we did put in a W in OBV back here on divergence, and we actually put in kind of an ugly weekly W that did break out here. And so like maybe, there was a trade back here that made sense to me, but here, this isn't really like my setup at the moment. If I was going to buy something like this, I would consider this like a knife catching cheap ass. I'm going to buy the lows here. And you can't fault it. It's $1. You could still lose 99% or 100%. But point being, so are you the type of person that's willing to take a shot here? I am. It's especially, I don't know. This isn't the setup that I'm talking about, and I would like to see a little bit more of a bullish environment before I went and aped in here. Pun intended. But you can't fault anybody for this. But really my point is, look at OBV and look at this. You can't argue that this is bottom though. So if you're willing to buy here, you have to accept that it might take a long time to bottom afterwards, and you might have to go underwater for quite a while. This is not the same chart as that OXT. At least the OXT, I have like legitimate 3 reasons to base an idea off of. Here, I think you have 1 reason. You have buying against the low, the open on Binance, the low, which ironically, we were kind of looking at, I don't know, we couldn't find more data on Ape. So maybe Binance listed it right away because there's really just, like on CoinMarketCap here, it doesn't really, that's March 19th of 22. And this is, the 14th. So that's the same week. So basically they have the same data. So anyway, no bottom there. I feel like there was one I wanted to look at that I forgot about that I was talking about earlier, but I'll look at these other ones first. ICP. Paul's saying ICP has unlimited supply. Is that right? I feel like ICP is fucking scammy too. These guys, Uh, I don't know. I mean, I remember there was quite a lot of hype. Maybe there's more somewhere else. Let's see if like oh no, it's the same. Well, we'll just look at it here on KuCoin. I don't know if ICP goes back beyond the 2021. I'm pretty sure it does. I don't know, but nonetheless, this is very much like Ape. It actually looks almost the same, although we're making new lows here. Haven't quite taken out the low yet. But man, see, this is what I mean. I just can't get that excited here when I look. I mean, I think it's okay to be dollar cost averaging if you want to own this thing. There's no reason why you know, there's certainly not chasing here. You just also have to expect it. You know, zero's down here. Somewhere in between 0 and here will be the bottom. And even that I can't guarantee because maybe this thing just erases itself from existence. I have no idea. Which is just kind of funny well, it's not funny that this would go into existence, but funny that like no matter what, you can always lose 99%, or it can always go 99% more down. But again, this is different than that OXT, I have to say. Like, I mean, that's just trending down OBV. This is M's, new M coming in right now. So the only thing you can base this trade on is that you're buying the low. And of course, that's all right, but like you can always make more lows. So there's no real. This gets into like sort of you're taking a ton of information risk, and you're potentially buying some amazing level because like yeah, you don't have a lot of information to base this trade on, but you are buying against the lows. And if this thing does turn around right here and then it's up here down the road, you're gonna look like a fucking genius because you were willing to step in, you know, at these rock bottom prices. But you don't have a lot of reasons. And being September and stuff, and just I think prices are headed lower into the end of the year. I don't see any huge reason to just go and rush into it, but it doesn't look great. Burger and Mana. I know I want to buy Mana pretty soon. Mana was one of my best trades last cycle, and all right, here we got a good looking OBV, and this is one that we were talking about a couple weeks ago, thinking it was going to weekly W here, and it couldn't quite. You know, the W tried to come in, but didn't truly come in, and then crapped out again. So, perfect example of why we wait for confirmation. But nonetheless, I mean, this is a nice looking location here against the low. Awesome OBV. So at least, you know, you have divergence even like from that low to that low to that low. We're in divergence. Not quite confirmed on the most recent one. Just potential. Well, let's see here. I mean, that's actually a new low here. That's actually an M. But in general, you know, from like these lows to the current lows, we're in confirmed. Yeah, actually, we did break that W. So we have it, you know, this is the, you know, the W basically. So we got confirmed divergence there. And that was like, what would have been nice was to see this weekly W break out and actually confirm. And the fact that it didn't kind of is a tell that, you know, this thing crapped out again. That's a perfect example of why I like to wait for the W to break out. Doesn't mean it has to work. I mean, funny enough, we had a W back here that did actually confirm, and we didn't really have OBV divergence though. We had a W in OBV actually right here, which is good enough for me. So, I mean, I could have seen taking this trade here, you know, on the pullback of this W, and it failed. And that's sometimes happens. But the cool thing is now we have one W back here that failed. So the next one that comes in, you know, usually the second weekly W has a pretty good chance of holding. So, I swear, if I could get paid for every time I accidentally open up that window, that'd be great. Because I seem to do it constantly. Every time I think I've hit F12 on accident or something when I'm trying to hit my delete key. So anyway, I like Burger more than I like Filecoin and ICP. Plus, I love tasty, delicious burgers. Um, but there's just no weekly W. Let's wait for a W to if you're conservative and want to take it slow, then wait for the W. If you love burgers and want to own it right here, I can't fault anybody for buying against the lows here. But just keep that whole statement in mind that the wind's in the face of these things right now, especially with Ethereum looking like hell. And Bitcoin sort of teetering on the edge of sort of like being a double off the lows, but kind of running out of steam. Let's look at mana now. And really, it's like, I've been talking for an hour. If people have some names they want to look at, I'm happy to talk for some more. Otherwise, I'll probably kind of get closer to wrapping this up just because, there's not very many people watching anyway. And only the most important people are watching those. So I don't want to let you guys down. But I do want to look at mana because I haven't actually looked at that in a little while. Suppose we could look at Binance here. You could see that I have this trend line drawn here that I think would be worth waiting for it to resolve. And then I also have the old W level drawn back here, which I think is sort of a magnet. And I see very much like Ape, just a solid, hard downtrend here since January, which is kind of funny. That was January 30th, so they did pump it right first. The crypto did catch a bounce right here and did get a nice solid move. And mana just did I don't know if it doubled here. Did it 30 to? It did, yeah. Remember, I was annoyed because I didn't buy it. I'll be honest, I dropped the ball through here. It took me I was like a little, towards the end of the year, I was sort of I wasn't really active enough to take too much advantage of that initial pump. Still did manage to catch a lot of it after I had to get back in the game. In fact, VMP88 or VMP, Julian, he was banging out so many freaking doubles that he was the one that woke my ass up. Because I was watching him get like 5 doubles a day or something. It was like, holy shit, I'm slacking. But anyway, it took the whole move back now. So like this perfect example of like during this time, everybody was saying all these things were going to go to the moon here and was calling for bull markets and stuff like that. But it wasn't the right time. And then now we've just come all the way back down. And I think Paul is saying that our order for the Road to Financial Freedom plan is at 20. Which is getting close to getting filled, actually, I suppose. We're at 27 right now. So still quite a ways down. So we're at 20, which is right there. So basically off of that key high there. So that gives you an idea where we're, this kind of thing we're doing with the that Sunday plan. We're just taking our first shot, 0.5%. Of our portfolio at levels like this, kind of like knife catcher levels of just, trying to find good solid places to take a first nibble. And, I think somewhere around 20 to set to this 12, even all the way down is reasonable. And then of course, if you want to, follow, if I was just talking my setup, I can't justify taking a trade yet here. I mean, I have location. We're well below 88.6, I would guess, if we were going to just draw fibs from here. And I don't know about, maybe Bittrex is a better place to look at this. They've had mana go. That's only 2020, so let's actually look at. I don't know if Bittrex traded against US dollar all the way. Not really. I mean, really, against BTC is where you're going to probably get the most history. That's kind of interesting, though, looking at against Bitcoin. We are getting down into like the old school bottom. So that's interesting here if you were to buy it against Bitcoin. But we'll go back to that USDT chart. I don't know. Maybe Kraken has it for longer. Not really. Qcoin? Yeah, Qcoin has a little bit more, maybe. Well, no, it has less because, that's, Binance. Sorry. Just trying to, I guess maybe not against US dollar, but definitely goes back beyond 2020. And In fact, I do remember 2020 August. Well, it was earlier, right before COVID. I remember Brian Beamish and I were fucking around in Decentraland. We were actually like running around in the game, and it was like playing like a just like it was not, it's the graphics were horrible, and there was nothing to do. You're just like running around in the metaverse with nothing to do. I don't know what it's like now. It's been but I was buying it back there while I was also playing that silly game. Anyway, point being, I don't know what my train. Oh yeah, sorry, OBV just not W. We did actually W back here in divergence even, so we did get divergence here, and technically that still is active because we haven't lost those lows yet. So funny enough, there is a divergence on the move to a new low there, and then nice big fat W here that came in on that pump. So actually a weekly W here, and I could start buying this thing, but that doesn't particularly look like a weekly W here. So I mean, of course, our Road to Financial Freedom plan doesn't have that same rule. We're willing to, we're doing that plan's more like we'll take a shot at this level here and then wait for the W to come in and add. And so if we buy here and it bounces at 20 and we can get a double off, great. If it heads lower and makes a W, great. Or maybe it bounces a little bit and still W's in good location, and we'll add the second 0.5% and we'll end up with 1% into this name. That's that plan. Me, I'm gonna wait, and then of course, if you want to wait for this trend line to resolve, that's also, I mean, that's pretty indicative of the situation we're in right now. Again, this trend line, like here is January of 2024 right here, and the halvening is like, somewhere over here. And so does it take all this time to just sort of like, maybe it dips lower, but does it have to just sort of end up Wing out on the other side of the trend line somewhere in like May? Yeah, I think that's kind of like what we're looking at, sort of something like that. And so how low do we go before that is sort of up in the air, but that's kind of what I'm looking at. And just using this trend line off of that M there as a way to just keep yourself from entering too early, it seems reasonable to me. Of course, there's always the chance something like this happens. Very V-bottomy, so like maybe you caught this trade, but there wasn't a nice clean W there to work with. So anyway, I think Mana looks a lot like most altcoins. Let's see if I can find one that looks good. I mean, I know we were talking a lot about Peer over the last couple weeks, and sure enough, it did break out here. And now it's not, this is a very different chart than Mana. Like, hopefully you guys can see the difference. Nice tight range that's forming W's. I mean, there's a weekly W there. There's a weekly W here now that's current. And OBV was in divergence through this little low, and OBV's been trending higher since the bottom. To be fair, it's kind of ran out of steam now. And maybe that was a fake out and we have to actually come down and make another W. Maybe, but at least we have something to work with here. So I like the idea of buying Peer against here. Which I've already been buying this. I actually bought here in the last W. So technically that trade is still active with, and the lows have held. Didn't quite produce doubles. But so something like this or XT looks a lot better. I mean, Unfi already took off. That was the one that we were highlighting. AGLD is one of my favorite looking charts in general, and it's just sort of sitting here holding. I mean, sure, it's getting kind of kicked in the nuts here, and it actually, technically I banged a double out on this purchase here, but I'm averaging my, or I guess that was my first buy. Yeah, I guess I missed the double. Because I didn't sell 46 up to 92. It was just barely a double. Either way, I didn't get the trigger pulled there. I feel like maybe it's because I bought 61.8. That's what it is. I bought here too, and then I'm average. So technically, I didn't have an order working, but I suppose I could have sold that on a double, but nonetheless, I didn't. But I like this. Anyway, weekly W's holding, OBV trending higher, although now we're starting to M out here. Not a great look, but this is at least kind of based, so hopefully we hold the lows. I still have, I'm still going to be buying down here near 88.6 in the old W breakout. I did get a double off here already. I missed this first pump and bought the pullback. So I like the way that one looks, but let's see. I guess there's no other real names in here. Nobody else is throwing any names out. There was one that I had in my head that I wanted to look at that I cannot remember all of a sudden. There is a little more green here today, which is nice, but I guess that's just because Bitcoin pumped, and we'll see if Bitcoin can hold the lows. I know Maker's got a nice bottom working now, so I like the idea of buying pullbacks here. Road to Financial Freedom Plan got a pretty sick fill here on that tail and got doubles off here. I did not, actually. I just kind of missed the boat on Maker here. And to be fair, my setup wasn't really in. I mean, because we got divergence here, but never really a weekly W. Now we have a weekly W with that divergence. So any pullbacks into like 61.8 at 866 and below, I like the idea of buying Maker. What's another one? Zen was recently starting to look pretty decent. Yeah, so Zen OBV divergence is now confirmed, and we're just waiting on a weekly W. Nice location down against the old W here, all the way down against the lows. It just needs to put in a W. Definitely looks better than some of those hard downtrending ones. Saw somebody mention Atom here the other day and looking at like it was looking horrible, and it sure looks pretty bad. I mean, if anything, hopefully you can just see the difference between this chart and Zen, for example. At least Zen's basing and has positive OBV. This is just a big old M in OBV. We are getting into good location down against the old lows, but I don't know. That doesn't look particularly good. So, just to kind of start wrapping this up, the prognosis of altcoins in general isn't really great. So if we're going to take shots, maybe now's the time to only wait for the best. Well, it's like if you're an Atom fanatic, if you're in the Atom army, which I actually like Atom, and I do kind of mess with their sort of DeFi platform a bit. I mean, if you love Atom and you want to own it, then sure, dollar cost averaging. Dollar cost averaging right now seems to be appropriate. And then the thought I was just having is if you're gonna take punts in crypto right now, maybe you should stick to things with a little bit more momentum behind them. Things like that OXT, or like even Zen. Maybe wait for the W. But if Zen can W. Let me see if I can end with another W. I mean, I know I like this Fox is one that I like that I haven't bought yet, but is actually maybe I got filled. Looks like it just hit my level. Oh, I missed it. Like this one looks pretty good. I mean, it doesn't have a candle body W. It's it just has this tail to help that W come in, but you could see the OBV is in divergence. Confirmed now. Something drove the price up pretty well, and that moves over. So I don't know. Safe bet would be to wait for another W. But either way, like now that we're coming back into that W level, I like the idea of buying this thing. I have no idea what it is. It's just a US, Coinbase name. So there's a weekly W there. I did like Lit the other day, and like this is kind of like Zen. Litentry, LIT or whatever it is. You could see OBV is just trending higher. I like that. And nice sideways channel building. With weekly W's holding at the moment, this low is holding, and we're actually down against the original Binance low here. So all we need is a W here that I have just waiting. Maybe it's that. Did we actually hold the... No, we took out the low, so that's not going to work. Maybe it's that right there. We're in the middle of the W trying to come in. But either way, I'll be just waiting for that, but I like that in general. And a W that I did buy in the past is this API 3. I was in here buying, and it's just sort of doing nothing, but is holding the lows. OBV completely crapped out here. And then I did buy a few things over the last month or so. I did buy like this Bancor, which I remember this one I did mention at the time. I sort of flubbed the OBV here, but I went and bought this W, even though OBV was looking kind of bad. But I mean, even this, like, hopefully you can at least see that this is a little more bottomy looking than like Ape. That's just sort of straight down, doesn't have anything going for it. Like something made this push up, and I guess it almost doubled. Or if you caught the exact bottom, you would have gotten a double here on this move. But either way, they took that all the way back right away. But now we're just sort of hanging out with this W here, and I think the chances of these lows holding are better than like the ones that look worse. Like I do think that this still will probably take some time to bottom out, and it might have to bottom lower. But either way, it looks a lot better to me than the ones that are just started going straight down. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're gonna take your bets, maybe stick to things that look stronger. That's my approach. I don't know. You do whatever you want, but I personally, right now, I would rather wait for a solid weekly W and buy against that W than just knife catch things that are moving to new lows. Unless I was gonna dollar cost average or just had a name that I really know I want to own. So that's where I'm at. And so other than that, it kind of makes it sort of hard to do these shows and get too excited because it's just not really that time. But I suppose maybe we could get into lower time frame stuff maybe in this show. That would be, I suppose if people wanted to do that, we could maybe start tracking like trades on sort of some names or something. I don't know. Maybe I'll keep that in mind for next week. But I think for now, I'll probably just look to call it here. And yeah, I mean, I could keep going. There are names in here that I know look okay, like XLM, for example, is trying. This thing's holding the weekly W, and I'm in the process of reloading off of the last doubles I got. So stuff like this, I like. I'd rather buy XLM here as it comes down against the W than anything else, to be honest, because that's a great looking chart. That looks awesome. I mean, this is cracking, so it's kind of weird back here. But either way, like you can see the old bottom here, and now we're just basically Wing out right off of 88.6 of the old bottom. That looks good to me. OBV still putting in W's. So anyway, guess I'll leave it at that, and we'll be back on Sunday for the Road to Financial Freedom Crypto Weekly Review Plan. And of course, you can always jump in our Discord and get the spreadsheet for that plan and see exactly what we're doing. All that's being documented by our awesome team member Miku, who is also the creator of that spreadsheet, but he also does the legwork of making sure we're on track with all that, which I thank you very much for. I appreciate that. And of course, Paul's also directly involved with that. And you can see charts of everything where our bids are working, where we've already bought, the doubles we've made, and the statistics around all that. You can see the whole plan. And you can even see the written up plan for that we're following, and you can sort of use that information however you want. And then if you want to jump deeper into trading, then of course you can just jump in our Discord. There's a link at the bottom of this video. You can join our free room and at least kind of get a sense for who we are. But if you really want to get into like our daily live trading sessions during the New York session and London session and stuff, you got to join our site, which is modestly priced, I would say, and for the value that you get out of it. And I suppose if you want to take it one step further, we did just start our Capio One training program. It's starting this week, so you'd have to basically decide today or tomorrow if you wanted to join up with that. But we are training some people how to trade and basically trying to onboard people into our community, just sort of fast track them into actually executing trades in the market. And so that's sort of the point of that, is just get everybody up to speed with our style and how we're approaching trading, and get you to a place where you can actually execute in the market. And then that ends up being a year-long endeavor, really, truthfully. I mean, the school part's 3 months, and then there's another month of sort of more hands-on trading with Paul and I, and then there's still another 8 months where we expect you to show up and do the work. It's not like there's no like cheating that you know, that's why it's so long. Like we become a premium member for another 8 months after the school program. And then, we do expect you to, of course people are, have lives to live, and you have to decide at what time, are you going to spend 5 hours a week on this, or 10 hours a week, 20 hours a week, or whatever. That's directly related to what type of trading you can do. It's a little hard to day trade when you're not around and available to day trade. So you have to sort of find what works for you. But either way, once you do determine what your goals are, we expect you to show up, and we're going to be there holding you accountable. I mean, a huge part of this is, so I don't really like calling it a school. I like calling it a training program, or like I told somebody the other day, I think of it like we're hiring you to trade for us. That's like, if I was hiring somebody to trade for me, how would I teach them to trade so that they can work for me? Of course, I'm not hiring you, but that's how I look at it. It's like I don't look at it as like a school where, you watch some videos and then like go on your way. I actually think of it as like, I'm going to sort of be there to hold you accountable a little bit. I expect you to show up and do the work. And if doing the work might only mean 5 hours a week, cause that's all you can, because you have a full-time job or whatever, it doesn't really matter to me how much time you spend. What matters to me is do you do what you said you're going to do? So I expect the students to say what they're going to do and then do it. And I'll be honest, man, people, maybe a lot of people won't. I mean, it's just like everyday life, man. I swear there's so many people around me that have little integrity, and like just people in my personal life and stuff. It's hilarious how people don't follow through. I'm not even saying I'm the best at, I have my own problems, but like, I do think I think I have integrity. I do what I say I'm going to do. And I'm not perfect, and I make shit tons of mistakes, but I try to, I always try to check myself. And I expect that from the people that are going to take this course, So it's like, if you don't want to do the work, then don't bother. I don't know. But I'm not going to pretend like it's not going to, at the end of the day, it's going to be up to you. Like, I can teach you what I know, and I can hold you accountable, and I can sort of answer your questions, and I can sort of build a community, if you will, for you to involve yourself into. But if you're not gonna put the effort in and actually get to a place where you can hold yourself accountable, then you're just never gonna make it. I don't know. It's just the truth. I mean, remember, only like 5%, 10% of people that try this even succeed at it. It's not for everyone. It's not easy, and I don't know. So anyway, point being, if that interests you, if you're the type of person that maybe wants a little kick in the ass, I'm not a hard ass is my problem. I'm actually kind of a pushover. So it's actually, I have to force myself to like, try to hold people around me accountable, because it's easy for me to just sort of be a pushover. However, I have every intention of sticking to that commitment. So, if that's something that interests you, and to be honest, Paul's way better at that than me. Paul's no bullshit with Paul. So between the two of us, I think we'll be able to provide value to you guys, if that's your thing. And if not, then, we're still happy to help too. If you don't want to take our training program, then no problem. You can still jump in our free room and ask away any questions you want, and I'll do my best to at least offer my insight that you can take with you and do what you will with it. And if anything, like I said, maybe you can even counter trade me if you don't like what I say. So anyway, that's about the best pitch. I'm not a good shill either, so I'm not going to sit here and shill our little program. I think it's valuable. I think it's ridiculously cheap at the end of the day. This is basically $1,000 to take the course, have a year's membership, and the premium costs half that anyway for a year's membership. And also we add our THG indicator, which is our trend following indicator that really you could make endless money with. That's lifetime. Basically, you can have that for life, and that's going to be that performs extremely well in bull situations, or bear for that matter. But if we do, and when we do enter into a bull cycle, if you have that THG sort of style under your, if you're capable of following the THG setup and managing your risk, you can, I almost want to say guarantee, if you can follow the plan and manage your risk, I almost would guarantee you're bound to make money in a bull market. The catch is, if we're not in a bull, or if we're in a ranging sideways-y shit market, then the THG is not going to perform as well. It doesn't mean you can't do it, but it really will perform. It shines in trending markets. So if we get into a trending market, then even if that's the only thing you take away from all this, the $1,000 is like nothing for that. And of course, that indicator is available to you as a premium member too. If you just want to join the premium group, and you'll just lose it when you leave the group. It's not lifetime available, I don't think, is the sort of catch with that. And if y'all just want to hear about Paul talk about THG, he usually will cover some of those trades in his daily plan videos, which are 5 days a week. So you can always watch Paul. He's a little shorter winded than me. Does about a 25 minute show, just covering levels for the day and what he's looking at for the London session. And then that trickles into the New York session too. And he usually will, or often will, kind of highlight some THGs if they're happening at the moment. So that's that's what our Crypto Traders Arena offering is for the most part. And then we have some free shows, like Stefan scalping on Tuesdays. The New York session's open to the public on Tuesdays. I'm doing this show on Tuesdays. Sunday show is also available. So, those are the things we're just doing on YouTube for the general public. And at the end of the day, we're just trying to build a community of traders. I mean, I don't know. I like to think of it as like a prop firm. We're not really like funding anybody. It's sort of like a decentralized prop firm, if you will, where like everybody's responsible for their own capital, but we're all sort of working together to try to help each other out and keep everybody on track and hold everybody accountable, or hold each other accountable. And just a lot of this stuff is just showing up every day. I mean, I don't know. I'm doing this show, like maybe this show is useless for people. I don't know, but it's actually helpful for me because it solidifies the fact that I'm trying to stay in the game. Like I'm not, I'm just staying in the conversation by doing this show. So I'm not going to forget about like crypto because I'm every day, in here looking at and talking, and I'm holding myself accountable by going out in the public and saying what I think. I don't care if I'm wrong, to be honest. I just don't care. And I don't really, I'm not trying to be right, I should say. It's not about caring if I'm wrong or not. It's more about, I don't have to be right 100% of the time for this to work, but just by coming on here and talking about it, I'm just sort of building an environment for myself to succeed inside of. I don't know, maybe that makes sense. So that's what I get out of this. So if you guys find value in it, great. Maybe I talk too long and ramble on and whatever. I probably won't change too much. Maybe someday I'll be able to make some shorter shows. But for the most part, you're just going to get what you get with me. And I'll probably keep doing it for the time being. So hope to see you guys again. And as always, wish you a good rest of your evenings if you're on the other side of the world. And for me, I guess it's getting a little later in the day for me too. But I will see you guys later. And any questions you have, always feel free to reach out. And if you want me to cover anything in particular in these shows, just let me know. And I think on Discord, if you want to message me, you got to friend me. So feel free to hit me up with a friend request. And I will talk to you all later. So thanks a lot and have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.